For those of you who don't know me well enough, I'm Shrikant Acharya. I run a business called ofteneats.com. That's ofteneats.com. We are a corporate gifting company based in Bangalore and in Chennai. And to give you a context on why I'm doing this particular webinar and so on. So I about 8 to 10 years back, around 2010, 2011, 2012, I started becoming very curious about understanding, getting into the science of entrepreneurship, or kind of decoding how things work, how people think, and so on. And I took every possible test there was. I've taken MBTI, I've taken DISC, I've taken Gallup Strength Finder, I've taken so many other tests which are there. And that's when I came across this particular test called the Wealth Dynamics Profile Test. I actually came across this book called Wink and Grow Rich. So this is a pretty interesting book written by Roger Hamilton. I think everybody on this group except Mithun had attended the Entrepreneur Dynamics workshop, which happened last week or earlier this week or something, right? So Roger Hamilton had written this book. It's a pretty interesting book. If you are interested, look this up and order it. It's called Wink, Wink, Wink and Grow Rich. So in this particular book, Roger speaks about the concept of flow. He defines flow as being in a state of mind, or a state of being where you're just in flow. Things are happening and it's not so much of an effort. So the concept is, let's say you needed to take a break. What would you do? You would probably go on a vacation, or you would go hit the gym, or whatever it is that you would do to relax, to de-stress yourself. If that is what you do in your business, then you are in that state of flow. It feels like you're never tired, you're enjoying everything you're doing, and it doesn't feel like you really need a break. If you ever took a break, this is what you would do, right? So that's the state of being flow. And I was really mesmerized by that concept, and uh, I dug deeper into how things work and so on. And yeah, so I took the Wealth Dynamics Profile Test almost 10 years back, and I was amazed at how interesting it was, and how simple it was, yet it was very, very effective. So what I did is I went a few steps further. I didn't just take the Wealth Dynamics Profile Test. I made a lot of people take it, and I did some research online, and I started interacting with people from various other profiles also beyond my own profile. At that point of time, my Wealth Dynamics profile was a creator. I used to be on the more creative side. I think I've lost it over the few years, and or my work has made me do that, and now I am a mechanic. Right, so I met people from different profiles. I kind of forced people to take this test, and I understood how the entire thing works. And over these years, I put that to action. And what I did is I actually did some workshops, and I created some training material on how the a simplified version of Wealth Dynamics could be used to identify people, to understand their attitude, and to be able to kind of gauge what kind of work they will be best suited for. So with that context, uh, I'll share the screen in a bit to tell you how to use a simplified version, pen and paper version, as I call it, to be able to gauge the profile of anybody who you meet, right? So before that, I've promised to you guys that you'll be able to interview much better if you're able to attend this webinar. So I'll set a little context to how this can help in interviews. It can also help with identifying partners, or identifying understanding how your clients think, and so on. But let's say in the context of interview, I believe when you're doing an interview, there are three things that you'll predominantly be looking for. One is attitude, another is skill, and knowledge, right? ASK, attitude, skill, and knowledge. These are the things you should be looking for. In case you're uh, not looking for this is what you should be doing, right? So the skill and knowledge are relatively easy to identify in an interview, right? Let's say you need a, I don't know, developer or a salesperson or something like that. You can get the skill and knowledge from their qualifications, from their experience. You can maybe even give them a small test in the interview, or give them an assignment, and you'll be able to gauge that. The toughest part is being able to get the whether the person whom you're interviewing, whether they have the right attitude or not. This is the trickiest part of it, right? So I believe this what I'm going to show you right now is going to help you be able to identify the attitude of that person. Now let's simplify that and let's understand what is attitude. When you say attitude, what exactly do we mean? Right? Attitude is basically a combination of two things. How does that person think, and how does that person act or behave? Right? These are two things which determine what kind of profile do we come under, and that will kind of guide how we behave, how we communicate, what motivates us, and a whole bunch of other things. And if you take a lot of these profile tests, basically it's some of the other variation of these two principles is what all of them are based on. So here we go. I'm going to share the screen with you guys, and yeah, hi Satya, welcome to the webinar. So I'm going to share with you. Let me see. I'm going to share my entire screen. So, okay. So can you guys see a blank white sheet? Again, say yes, yes, write white or something like that if you're able to see that. This is going to be a little bit of juggling around. I need to see whether you're able to chat. Yes, yes. Okay, Muthu says yes. Okay, I'm hoping that you guys are able to see the white sheet, and I'm going to draw on this. So I have a fancy Microsoft Surface with the touch pen and so on. Let me put it to good use. So I'm hoping that all of you can see what I'm going to be drawing. If you'll see that I've drawn a big plus mark on the middle of the screen. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm going to proceed with everybody else. So these two lines that you see here kind of indicate uh, how we think and how we act or behave. All right. So this line, which is the what do you call this? The vertical line represents how you think. Okay, and this line represent the horizontal line represents how you act. Okay, so what this basically means is, broadly speaking, you can classify the way people think as either a sensory or data-driven approach, or you can say people think in a creative or a visual or an intuitive manner. That means you will see that some people just love Excel sheets, they love numbers, they love data, they love to be given as much information as possible, right? So these are guys who you would say are somewhere here. Okay, let's give them a score of 0. 0 doesn't mean it's low, it's just a number. And let's say there are some people who just hate numbers, who just cannot stand numbers. They like visuals, they like graphical representations, they love concepts, they love it to be they love philosophy, they love it when they understand concepts better than numbers, let's put it that way. All right, so these guys are intuitive, they're creative and intuitive thinkers. So let's give them a score of 10 here. If you believe, so the way you think, if it is going to be extremely data driven, that means you're extremely logical, you're very analytical about it, and you feel trapped if you do not have sufficient data to take action or to take information, then you are somewhere at the bottom. You should give yourself a score of 0. That means I am extremely data driven. Unless I go insane if some data is missing, or if if I have only 90% of the data, I really feel like I'm not. It's just not enough for me to take action. Then you will be giving yourself a score of 0, and you'll be marking yourself somewhere here. And if you feel I hate numbers, I just cannot look at an Excel sheet, I'm really terrible with looking at Excel sheets and so on, you will give yourself a score of 10. Okay, so can I ask all of you, if you have a pen and paper next to you, can you pull this out and draw a drawing that looks something like this? A huge plus with a 0 at the bottom and 10 at the top. And the similar way, you will draw a 0 on the left side here and a 10 on the right side here for the way you act. So I'll explain to you about the action part of it in a bit. Okay, is everybody following me? If you follow me, just write your score on the way you think. Zero meaning you are sensory, meaning you need data, you love numbers. Okay, and 10 meaning you are intuitive. Okay, so if you understood what I'm saying, write your score from 0 to 10. If you hate numbers completely, you just cannot stand the sight of an elaborate Excel sheet, your score is 10. If you love it when somebody gives you a very elaborate Excel sheet and you like to analyze things and you like more a fact driven approach, uh, then give yourself a score of 0. If you understood what I'm saying, write your score saying think score is something between 0 to 10 on the chat. Okay, I'm looking for some scores to pop up there to make sure that you guys understood what I'm saying. Okay, I see some numbers being entered by somebody. That's good. All right. Okay, so that means if you've given yourself a score of 4, or so let's say this is 5. All right, this exactly here would be 5. All right, so if you think give yourself a score in the context of your business. Okay, in the context of the role that you play in your business specifically, give yourself that score. All right, so that means if you give yourself a score of 2 or 3, so you would be somewhere here, and that means I love Excel sheet, but it's not that I cannot live without them, but I'm all right. Or if you give yourself a score of 8, you're probably somewhere here. That means I just hate Excel sheet, but sometimes I'm okay. I'm not so much averse to having Excel sheets and so on, right? So give yourself a score from 0 to 10. Then the second thing that we'll do is give yourself a score from 0 to 10 on the way you act. Okay. Now, if you're a complete introvert, give yourself a score of 0. Okay. And if you're a complete extrovert, give yourself a score of 10. Okay, if you understood what I'm saying, so if you are, I think it's pretty easy to understand what is the difference between introvert and extrovert. But again, we will stay in the context of the business part of it. So if you are an introvert, you probably don't love networking so much. If you're an introvert, you are probably better off, being in office, working through a computer and so on. If you're an extrovert, you love meeting people. You just don't give up an opportunity to have a meeting with somebody to explain what you do and those kind of things. You'll probably uh, be generally out there. That's the kind of thing. So give yourself a score of between 0 to 10. Again, a low score does not mean you're bad at something. It means you're a total introvert and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The point of this exercise is to be able to identify, understand ourselves a little bit better. All right, so you've given yourself a score. Can all of you write what is your think score and what is your act score? All right, I say okay, I see some numbers that's coming there. All right, so let's say I feel I'm a little bit of an introvert. So let's say I would give myself a score of somewhere around 3 or 4. So I would be somewhere here in terms of the action, the way I take action, and I am not a big on numbers. I love concepts much more than numbers. So I would probably give myself 7 or 8 on the intuitive scale, which would be somewhere here. All right. So now, if you've done this on a sheet of pen and paper, and if you have actually drawn out this big plus mark on a sheet of paper, then whichever the line, whatever score you've given, right, extend that line. So what I mean is, let's assume your think score uh, was 8. Then draw one big horizontal line like this. Okay, that's your think score. This is my think score. So I believe I'm a relatively more intuitive person. I love it when people give me bullet points and when they give me highlights about a report and not drag me through the details of the report so much. I like it that way. And I believe I'm generally an introvert. When needed, I don't mind going out, but I don't like it so much. I'd like to work indoors, and I'd like to build systems that don't require me to go meet customers and so on. That's why I've given myself a 3 or a 4, maybe 3.5. So whatever score you've given yourself, give yourself a big horizontal line. Oh, sorry, what is this? Vertical line like this. Okay, so your uh, think score is a big horizontal line, and your act score is a big vertical line. Did you all get that? If you got that, wherever this thing is joining, make a big mark there. Wherever those two lines are intersecting, make a big mark there. If you understood, uh, tell me yes. I've got those lines, and I've been able to mark my area there. Right? Just write yes. I marked my part or something like that. Yeah. Yes, marked. Yes, marked. Okay. Good. 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 All right. Okay. All right, good. Now we'll see whether my system really works or not, because if it works, we should be somewhere. There should what was the profile that you got when you took your Wealth Dynamics profile test should be somewhat similar or relatively closer to uh, the actual profile result that you got, right? So what I mean by that is I'm a let's say this is the area, right? So this somewhere around this is going to be my wealth dynamics profile, right? And if you've taken the test, it's no secret that this is a mechanic. Okay, this is how I know. I mean, this, for me, it's worked. So let's see, show of hands, or tell me what is the profile that it's come up. So for your reference, I'm going to show you the picture. Can you see the picture here? This is depending on where your this, you know. Okay, let me figure out how to do this. Okay, so the big plus mark that we drew goes something like this, something like this. My score was somewhere here, right? That was my score, which is why I said I'm probably a mechanic. Now, of course, I already knew that I'm a mechanic because I'd taken the test, but I believe in 70 to 80% of the times these should match reasonably well. All right, let's see whether that happens. So, what's your answer? I hope you put something on the chat there. Yes, marked. Yes, marked. Yeah, okay, it's matching for Soumya. That's good. That's a relief. Thank you, Soumya. Who else? Has it matched for anybody else? Near to star and creator. Okay, that's pretty close. That was your profile. It matched to creator profile. Okay, okay, I passed. Mine matched with secondary. What was your profile, Muthu? Muthu, if you can hear me, can you type your profile? What was that? Okay, creator. So what is the now? What does it come? Okay, now star. Okay, that's not bad. That's quite close. All right. Who else? Vinay says it's marked. Muthu says okay. Gautam says okay. Soumya says okay. Who else? Gautam, it's towards star. That's okay. Anupam matched with secondary profile. Mechanic in my case. Lord is primary. Okay, fine, good. All right, that's not bad. That's not. We're not too far off the mark. Okay, it seems so. With about as I said, it's a 70 to 80% accuracy. If you want a very accurate result, please go take the test. Or if it's very important, right, I would, if you found the well dynamics profile test to be useful, which I did, I would encourage you to ask key people in your organization, maybe your leadership team, or your partners or somebody, to take it so that it is helpful. But this is a very simple, effective way to be able to do that. So let me kind of um, decode what each profile really means. So let me show you my score first. Okay, I'll try to explain to you how you should be looking at your score. Now, when it's not that, now all of us have played different profiles in different roles and so on. So my profile, it says mechanic. All right. If you can see this here, my that basically means my score is the highest in mechanic. But that doesn't mean mechanic is the only role I will play. If you see, this is probably 75%, but my creator score is also about 55 to 60%. All right. And my steel, can you see my mouse movement? I'm not sure if you can see my mouse movement. If you can see my mouse movement, please type yes. I can see the mouse or something. Type mouse on the chat. Okay. Can you see the mouse? Vinayak says you can see the mouse. Soumya says you can see the mouse. Okay. All right. I'm going to assume that you can see the mouse here, but I'm going to show you my screen, my score here. What it means is, as a mechanic profile, my score is about 75%, but that doesn't mean I'm really bad with everything else. My creator profile is also okay. It's at about 60-65%. If you assume that this outer hexagon is 100% and the inner hexagon is 50%, my creator profile, which is there, which is the top line here, is also at 60%, which is not bad. My lord profile is also at about 55-60%. My star profile and my accumulator profile is at about 50%, which is relatively weaker. And if you see my trader profile, my supporter profile and deal maker profile are below the pass percentage, right? So these are the 5 profiles which I play reasonably well. Generally, you will see entrepreneurs, we are jack of all, right? So in that context, you shouldn't I mean, which is where reading the report is very, very important. It's for you to understand that 75% your core strength is as one particular profile, and your secondary profiles and tertiary profiles also come in handy. So it's not like putting you in a box and saying this is the only thing that you can do. You can do a bunch of other things also, but this is what you do the best. So I will encourage you to go through the detailed report. It's a 36-page report, and if you go through 16th page onwards, I'll just quickly take you there. While the initial pages tell you a lot about your own profile, I think the pages are not loading fast enough because we are on a webinar. Okay, if you go to the 16th page onwards in your report, right, it tells you about all the, let me go directly there. Okay, it tells you about the different types of profiles. So it's as important as it is for you to understand your profile. It's even more handy if you're able to understand other people's profiles also. Will okay. No, not 16th page, maybe 18th page or something. Not even 18th page. Okay, some place you go further down a little bit, you will be able to see that. Okay, it's right here. I think some 20th page or something. It tells you about the different profiles. It says, what are creators good at? What is the star good at? It starts from the 20th page onward. So I will strongly recommend you to go down deep. I know it's a 36-page report. We've stopped reading books long back, but I'll encourage you to, even if you don't read every word on the report, just go through it and see what a supporter can do. Right? That it's been very well drafted. It says creator is good at creating a better product. Do you see this? Star is good at creating a better brand. All right. And supporter is good at leading the team. Okay, a deal maker is good at bringing people together, so on, right? So I'm going to do a quick run on what I can tell you about the different profiles. I'm assuming you can see this particular picture, and the top portion here is the creator. Then you have the star, you have the supporter, you have the deal maker, you have the trader, you have the accumulator, you have the lord, and you have the mechanic. All right, so now the to understand the traits of each person, creator is usually the creative genius. They are very creative. They come up with a lot of ideas. and they're bubbling with the better products and so on. But the problem with the creator usually is they don't see it through all the way. Halfway through they get bored, and they expect a lot from their team and they burn out. And so it's very important that if you're a creator, you need somebody who is either a supporter or a lord or a mechanic, depending on your business, somebody else who balances out and who's doing the execution for you, right? So if you're a creator, make sure you build a team which is going to do the execution, because you don't like the details. You are going to get bored of following up and tightening the bolts and all those kind of things which go into execution. But there are a lot of other people, supporter for instance and lord, are great at execution, right? They are not the ones who come up with ideas. So I'll come to the other profiles, but after the creator, let's look at star. Now star is somebody who is not good at creating products, but these guys are stars, right? So these guys are great at presentation. People love them. They're exactly what a star profile, like let's say Shah Rukh Khan, Ritik Roshan, Amitabh Bachchan, and all these guys. They're brilliant businessmen. Just that they don't create their own products and they don't create their own business as such, but they somehow have the glamour and they have the bling in them that people want to do business with their brands and so on, right? So they are the guys who people look up to. They are the guys who people would love to do business with, products that are have their name associated with them. Again, these are the guys who need somebody else to do the execution for them. They are the guys who will be out on the stage. So probably business coaches and speakers and singers and actors, all these kind of people who like to soak in the what do you call, what light is that, the focus light or whatever it is, right? Who love that kind of stardom kind of a feel. They are the guys who are usually in this place. They excel at it, right? And the supporters are those guys who usually are, you remember, this is the extrovert. So these guys, if you got a 10 on 10, then you're a supporter. So what this basically means is you're a complete extrovert. You love interacting with people. You would hate it if somebody would make you sit on a laptop and ask you to make a presentation or do something like that. You are an out and out guy. You would probably don't even like to carry a laptop. You like to carry an iPad or something, and you love meeting people. You love shaking hands. You love building teams. You love you're an extraordinary CEO material. If you see, everybody who is there in the supporter role is always going to be a great CEO. So and generally you will see, let's say Microsoft was Bill Gates plus Steve Ballmer, right? Bill Gates was the creator profile. He was the crazy guy who would come up with brilliant products, brilliant ideas, and so on. And the supporter profile was Steve Ballmer, who was the CEO for a very, very long time, who who, and if you look at it, all the Indian CEOs who are there right now are all supporters. Somebody else has created the product. These guys are great at magnifying what has been created by somebody. I want you to pay attention to this word, magnifying. If you are on the right side, if you are a supporter, you're great at magnifying something that has been created. So you're great at creating one single product that is going to be massive. So you're probably going to be great in businesses like events or high ticket, high value events, high value products, right? Real estate and big projects and those kind of things, where one single product, one single brand is going to be really, really massive, right? So then comes the deal maker. Now if you come to the bottom three, accumulator, trader, dealer, these are profiles of people who love data, right? They have very, very data driven approach. They are very analytical kind of people. And the deal maker is a very unusual. I've not come across personally too many people who I know who are deal makers. But deal makers somehow always know the right people for the job, or right people. They somehow know where there is a demand, where there is, they're great at connecting people. They know who needs this piece of information and who is going to pay a good value for this piece of information. They're generally, these are the guys who you will find in media mostly, uh, media conglomerates who have big they're generally not in the spotlight. They're probably the guys like whoever owns CNBC TV 18 or something like that. Trader is somebody who's extraordinary at timing. They're just good with the wholesale distribution, that kind of business, who are really good. They know when to buy and they know when to sell. they're great with the making money in the off the stock market and those kind of things. And these guys make their money by buying and selling, right? They know, somehow they know that I have to buy it at the lowest price and I have to sell it at the highest possible price. So these are the guys who know to optimize their numbers. They're able to optimize the operations to be able to maximize profits. The next person who's there, accumulator also works on data, but their philosophy as against traders is more likely to be on long term, on accumulation of wealth, not on trading. They don't believe in buying and selling and that's how making money. They believe in buying and growing it and then making money. Warren Buffett is a classic example who takes bets on really long term um, investments. Even in, they are the guys who are the most patient. They are the guys who who will be there at the back operations and those kind of places, and who will be really patient, and they know the value of time, and they know how to make things grow over a period of time. Lords are clear introverts. They are extremely introverted people, but again they are really good at operations. They love details, right? Because they don't like to go out and meet people. They like to make systems work, right? So lords are great at operations. If you have somebody who's handling your back end operations, I think I don't think there's anybody in this webinar who's a lord, but a good friend of mine, Sandeep Bhaskar, is a lord, and I pushed him to create operations, and he's coming out rocking with respect to operations. I see him every 2 3 days. He's sending me, there's a new SOP that I've created. So these guys get a kick out of creating a system and making sure that the system works. And the last profile that we have is called the mechanic. Mechanic is the guy who likes to tinker, right? Who likes to optimize the system and make it better, right? So you have Michael Dell is a classic example of a mechanic who basically started a business of assembling computers and laptops. So he did not invent the computer, he did not invent the RAM, motherboard, whatever it is. Somebody else has created it. He's put it all together and built a system where you're able to deliver laptops custom made with almost zero inventory at the fastest time possible. So mechanics are those guys who love systems and who love tinkering with systems. They are not so good at following the systems themselves, but they are good at tinkering and making things better. All right. So these are the 8 kind of profiles, and I hope you are able to make sense. And generally, as a rule, if you have uh, 2 partners, it's great if you are able to cover all sides of the business. Again, depending on the kind of business, it's great if you're a creator, and if your business is very operations intensive, you probably want a lot or an accumulator on your team to take care of the back end and operations. And if your business is something which requires a lot of networking, meeting with a lot of people, dealing with, I don't know, governments and high value products and so on, you probably want a star or a supporter on your team. So it's ideal if you can, if you have 2 or 3 partners, if you're able to cover different parts of the quadrants here, then that's a great team to have. All right. So yeah, so that's about what I would want to share. So hopefully you saw value in that, and I'll be open to questions. I'll stop sharing my screen now. um, all right, I think I've stopped sharing my screen. Any questions or any points or anything that you thought made sense, didn't make sense, whatever it is, just you can either put it on the chat there, or you can just switch on your mic and you can start telling me the same. Okay, is anybody still there? I spoke for too long. I don't know if I lost somebody.
Shrikant, Vinayak here.
Yeah, hi
Uh,
Vinayak.
so thanks for this. It was really good summarization of the entire workshop that we had, and I think your what you spoke was more. I could connect more, better than the workshop itself. So
Glad to know. Thanks.
so my question here is that with respect to this Excel, right? Like, it's a little confusing to me because from what I gather from inputs from people, they tell me I'm a very Excel guy and data guy and things like that. But
Mm,
also I'm driven by concept and ideas,
right.
and it's what I'm like I'm confused where I lie in the quadrant.
Yeah. Yeah,
And also with respect to introvert and extrovert, personally it's a little with respect to mood. And when I'm in all my
yeah,
energy inflow, I go and talk to people and move. And when things are not going my way, I tend to be more introvert and just sit and dwell on things.
yeah,
So like question here is that like how would I know that I'm on the right quadrant? And like self, is there
yeah.
a chance that we could go wrong on the self assessment here?
Yeah, there is a very high possibility you could go wrong in the self-assessment. That is because we humans are very complicated beings. We are never the same at two different instances. I'll give you an example. I'll answer this with taking Shubhra's example. I think almost everybody here in the group may know Shubhra. Shubhra is my sister. She's also a partner in my company, ofteneats.com. Before I think for the about last 2 years or so, she's been involved. With offineats.com. Before that, she used to run another company called the Traveling Circus, which did two-wheeler bike, long distance bike tours it organized. So in that profile, she was an out and out star and creator and profile. She was on the right side of the quadrant, right? I remember when she had taken the profile test before, she was extremely outgoing and she was extremely passionate about travel, and she would always be out there. She would always be speaking about traveling and so on. And now when she's in the corporate gifting business, she is taking the extreme other side of the quadrant. She's extremely on the left side. Her profile is Lord right now, right? That's 180-degree shift, right? How does that happen? Is because when she came to Needs, she doesn't find she's not passionate about this business, and she finds she somehow took into the role of being able to handle operations and to be able to handle accounts and finance, those kind of roles which needed her to be more play more on the left hand side of the quadrant as against on the right hand side. So which is why whatever it is that you do, like I absolutely connect with what you're saying, right? I The only topic you can get me speaking and jabbering non-stop is entrepreneurship, right? When I go to um, let's say when I go to Toastmasters with my wife, I'm an absolute joke there. I just cannot open my mouth at all. So we are complex people. It's best to see if you're able to give yourself score in the context of what it is that you're doing. So
Yeah.
if you put yourself to the context of one particular business, your score may be slightly different, and in another business it may be slightly different.
So, just as a follow-up question, like,
Mm.
you started off with this saying that, whatever you are doing, it should be like you're in the, it should be like a holiday. It should be
Yeah,
like you just be in the flow that you're enjoying to do that.
right.
Sometimes you end up, and sometimes that may not seem very practical to everyone.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not.
and then you make practical choices, and then you change your profile, right?
Yes.
Like, and maybe that's what happened to your sister. I'm not,
Yeah,
maybe that's the could be that one, right? so
that's
so,
correct.
so sometimes it happens in life where you try to be more practical or live like what most of other people are living, and
Mm.
then you might change your profile and may not be in flow. Then you may want to feel like escaping from the situation or
Yeah.
taking a holiday or this thing. So in that context, like, which one should you play? Like, primarily, which one should you play? Should you play what you're
See,
naturally good
ideal situation, you should play what you enjoy the most.
at?
Okay. Like, I don't know, I would say, let's take the example of MS Dhoni, right?
Mm,
He's a awesome wicket keeper, and he's
mm,
a fantastic batsman if he opens somewhere at 6 or 5 or 6 or 7 number or something like that. But if the
mm,
situation demands, he may open the innings also, and if the
mm,
situation demands, he may open at the bottom. And sometimes there have been occasions when he gives up his gloves and goes bowling also, right?
mm,
But he enjoys that position, number 5, number 6, and he loves batting in the last 10 overs of the game and so on. That is where his best comes out. So we should try to be, I mean, ideal situation is that you should be in a profile that you really love and where you're already good at. That's where that holiday zone comes in. But life happens, you always don't get to be in that profile. But the good thing is,
mm,
if you see my profile, right? I mean, if you see, and even Wealth Dynamics is not saying you're either this or this. It's saying you're 75% this, but you also have a decent score in this and this profiles also. So
mhm,
we entrepreneurs are jack of all and masters of none. So we better put that to use and wear whatever socks that the situation demands us to. But if you have the opportunity, and if time and business and resources permit, you should create a business around yourself so that you're in that zone where you're strongest at, and where you enjoy most. And yeah, so that's what you should do.
Great. Thanks.
All right, any other questions?
Yes. Hi, Shrikant.
Hi, Soumya. Yes.
So, yeah, firstly, thanks for the session. So, with respect to hiring and assessing other people's profiles, what are some quick ways to assess that?
Okay, so in so that this is the quickest way, right? So you do this for 3 or 4 people, you draw a big
Mm-hmm.
plus mark the way we did it, and in an interview you'll be able to gauge how is this person behaving. You can, from their body language, you can make out whether he's an introvert or an extrovert, and do a rough guess and ask those questions around what are your hobbies, and yeah, reading books and listening to music are probably introvert hobbies, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
like to go trekking, and I have a lot of friends, we go biking all the time. Those are
Mm-hmm.
probably extrovert hobbies, and you
Okay.
will see in their body language. Yeah, do a little more research, how to identify extroverts and introverts, and you'll be able to kind of gauge it. I didn't say it'll be accurate, but if
Right.
you as you practice over a period of time, you'll get better at it. So
Okay.
okay, I think this person is 7 or 8, right? Same way, the way they express themselves, when they start writing, when they're expressing, you see whether they're speaking the data language. Are they telling you, are they able to tell you specific dates, and are they able to tell you specific scores, or are they explaining to you in a conceptual manner? Are they saying you, this is my strength area, I'd love to do? If they're talking about passion, and if they're talking about what they love doing and what they're good at, and vis-a-vis, then they're a more intuitive thinker. If they say, no, my score was this, and in this particular thing, they're speaking about specifics, right? They're speaking about scores, they're speaking about numbers, they're speaking about the impact, they're speaking about percentage which is there. Then they are more what sensory or a data driven person, so you can give a relatively lower score, and do the same thing, and get kind of, you'll know what is the kind of person this person is, and you'll be able to gauge for your particular organization what profile do you really want. Do you want a star? Do you want an extrovert person who is good at? If you're hiring for somebody from sales, it's better to hire somebody from the right side of the quadrant. It's more likely that they're going to be successful. If you're hiring somebody for accounts, you probably want somebody at the bottom half of the quadrant. You want
Mm-hmm.
somebody in the design, or the creative department. You want somebody at the top half of the quadrant. You want
Okay.
somebody in the operations, delivery, logistics, those kind of things. You want somebody on the left half of the quadrant. Yeah, that's how.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thanks.
Hi, Srikant.
Yeah, hi Gautam.
Hi. So, looking at the this WD chart, what I feel is, correct me if I'm wrong, uh, that when you start an organization, when the organization is very small and you play an all-rounder role,
Yeah.
basically, you are
Yes.
a trader, you get the deal, you get the execution done,
Correct.
um, and whenever you move up the ladder, or you are in this phase where you have a good size of a team, and you are a stable business, you're making profits and you want to grow. That is where you take up these tests, and then you start doing things where you are good at,
Correct.
or and probably. So many a time it also happens that in a business, you need to do continuous innovations and creativity, and you need to keep bringing new products. And each time when you bring a new product or a new purpose or a new business model,
Mm.
so you are required to play again the same roles.
Mm.
Let's say you were creator. Let's
Mm.
say I'm a creator,
Mm.
but at the same time, when I'm setting up a new business unit, I'm
Yeah.
required to, because that's the plan and the goal which an entrepreneur has.
Mm.
Okay, and he knows it how to do it. That's
Mm.
why he's getting into that. So,
Right.
and in the initial days, in the part of a business itself, I'm
Mm.
required to play a role of a trader and
Yes.
also a salesman.
Yes.
Why? Because I have to get those first initial customers.
Yeah.
So So how I would say that keeping yourself totally away from one particular subject, let's
Mm,
say sales,
mm.
is that a feasible thing, or is that a good advice to do? Because you might not again like it in the future to do the same thing when it is required to do.
Yeah. So
You
let's put
got,
it this way. Okay. Yeah, I got your point. I got your point.
huh?
Let's put it this way. Let's say I were to tell you, look, Shrikant, or let's say, look, Gautam, I need this one page document to be rewritten, but my condition is that it should be written using a left hand. You should not write it using a right hand. I know that you're a right hander. That's why I'm telling you. You have to write it with the left hand. If you complete this document by evening, I'm going to give you whatever 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees or whatever, but you have to write with the left hand only, right?
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
you might try, you might do okay, and because that 5,000 rupees is really important for you, you might go all out and you might struggle, and you might by the deadline, midnight is the deadline. Somehow you may give me something which may be okay, it may be acceptable to me, but you really struggle to do that. You did that as an entrepreneur. We've all done all of these kind of things. But let's say if you
Hmm.
had a choice that, hey, I have a friend who's a left-hander. You submit the assignment in 5 minutes and you say, give me my 5,000 rupees. What do you think you would do?
Hmm.
That's exactly how you have to think about it. Now, left-hand writing is maybe an extreme case. You probably won't write with the left hand, but sometimes that's
Yeah.
what we're doing. If we don't really like something, we suck at it. We are still going to go to YouTube. We are still going to learn. We're really going to do it. We're going to do whatever it is that's required because we want that particular order, right? But there are better
Hmm.
ways to do that if you can either find a partner or find a resource for whom this comes really naturally.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. I got your point. I got your point. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
was my role, because which means that sometime you have to do when there is no
Yes.
option, but at the same time
As
you
painful,
should
sometimes
always
it
look
could be
for
as painful
resources.
as, yes, absolutely. Sometimes it could be as painful as writing with your left hand. Think about it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else? Any other questions? Anything? Okay. So if you're good, I think we've spent a good 1 hour on this. If you have no other questions, I think we can
I
conclude
have
this.
one another question.
Yes, Gautam, please go ahead.
So I got star profile while doing this test,
Yeah,
and then while doing the test, the
this is the
WD,
creator.
I got creator profile,
Yeah.
and but I don't think I'm a star,
Mm.
because you related it with people who go to the States, Saruk Khan and all other people. So,
Mm.
and I realize I'm not that kind, where,
You read
uh,
the, see, that is one very simple way of putting it. But
hmm,
somebody who got the star profile, I think somebody, Soumya, did you say you're a star? Somebody here was a star profile
hmm,
No, my primary supporter, secondary.
supporter, secondary star. Okay, so if you have an opportunity, just read through the star. It's like you love PR, right? You would write. I've myself read so many articles about Eco 365, and you flew all the way to Bombay or Delhi or whatever to take the trophy, and you are using that to grow your business, right? So it is not that. I mean, it's not demeaning in any way, but it is leveraging it, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But that's a skill which you have. You might not realize it, but it's a skill which you have. But also, you open the report and see the score which you have. Your secondary profile is star, right? If your first,
yeah,
right? So it's there within. There is a star inside all of us. Sometimes it shines, sometimes it doesn't.
okay,
All right, and uh, you know it's even the wealth dynamics is not a very accurate system. The simple reason it's not accurate is we human beings are not the same throughout. A computer would probably give you the same answer if you ask it 100 times over 100 different situations, but we would probably answer it differently. Now if I would tell you that take the same wealth dynamics profile test after a month, the result would probably be slightly different, not very very different, but slightly different. That's the same thing happens here. So none of these profiling metrics can be accurate, and they vary from time to time depending on what's going on in your life and in your business at that point of time, but it give a reasonable indication on how you are likely to think and behave. Okay, all right. So with that, I think we can conclude unless somebody has any more questions. I don't see any more questions coming. Gautam, you switched on your mic. Do you have another question?
No, I wanted to say thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome, Gautam. So anybody else wants to say thank you, and here's a very, very interesting way for you guys to say thank you. I've set up a goal that in between February and March, in the next 2 months, I want to expand my business by 6 franchisees, 3 franchisees per month. So as you all know, I run a corporate gifting business, and we are franchising out our business. So you can help me out, and if you see value, your friends will love the way I handle my business. So if you know somebody in your family, friends, relatives who's worked at an organization for anywhere between 5 to 15 years and is looking to start a business, please refer them to take up the Off Needs franchise. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much for spending 1 hour of your Sunday on this session. Thanks a lot.